Members of the committee, if everyone will take their seats. Okay. We are joined now by Mr. Terry Cobb, who, as he walked up, I asked him how many years he had been doing this, and we are celebrating a significant anniversary of his 25th year being with us. Thank you for that yeoman service. If you will introduce those with you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With me today on my right is Roy Jones, Assistant Director of Administration for the Codes Department. And on my left is Wade Hill, Assistant Director over all things construction, I guess we would say, and currently serving as the Acting Director of the Codes Department, as I have been on assignment in the Mayor's Office with Development Services. Also in the audience tonight is Bill Penn, who is Assistant Director over our Property Standards Division, and Mr. Bill Herbert, who is the Metropolitan Zoning Administrator.
We are delighted that you are all here. Can you operate within the Mayor's proposed budget?
We are satisfied with the recommended budget.
With that, the floor is yours.
Thank you. As I thought about this budget presentation, I wanted to recap a little bit about what's going on in the Nashville market. In the calendar year 2013, the Codes Department issued approximately 10,000 building permits and approximately 30,000 associated trade permits, which represented $1.71 billion in building construction in Nashville and Davidson County. That is the third largest construction year in the history of the Metro government on a calendar year basis. And it's just 5.8% shy of the all-time record, which was set back in 2006 at $1.81 billion. Checking today on how we're doing this fiscal year to date, we're on track to issue $1.858 billion in building construction permits this year, which is the all-time record year for Nashville, Tennessee in construction permits. Our revenues this fiscal year also is setting an all-time record. No previous fiscal year have we generated as many revenues as we have this current fiscal year, and we expect the pace of new construction for permits and revenues to continue into the next fiscal year. Expenditures, as Councilman Stein has pointed out, this is my 25th budget presentation before the Metro Council, and I'm pleased to report we will again complete the fiscal year operating within the resources entrusted to our care. Each year I have this opportunity before the Metro Council to remind the members of Council that one of our basic budgeting principles is that the Codes Department budget is that we will fully recover our operating cost, hard cost and soft costs, through the collection of user fees. And the user fees are for permit fees, plans examination fees, inspection fees, licensing fees, registrations. Once again, the user fees collected by the department. And I think through today, we've already set a new revenue record, and we haven't finished the year yet. But through today, those user fees certainly have fully paid for the operations of the Codes Department, the direct cost and the indirect costs, our pro rata share, and I might mention including the Office of the Metro Fire Marshal on all inspections and plans reviews associated with new construction. Then our pro rata share of other general service and support departments like Metro Human Resources, Metro Legal, Finance, General Services, Motor Pool, ITS, etc. Even though the permits and revenues are running at all-time record highs, and even though user fees are fully recovering all of our operating costs, and we're generating surpluses back to the general fund like other Metro departments, we have been asked to further reduce our operating expenses. The budget before you calls for the elimination of 2 positions from the Codes Department. Finally, I would say that also important to note in the budget before you, it's been proposed that alarm registration and licensing functions be be transferred from the Metro Clerk's Office to the Codes Department, so that the revenues, expenditures, and the 1 employee in the clerk's budget associated with alarm registration and licensing would also be transferred over to the Codes Department effective July 1st. I understand there is a bill tracking with the budget that would accomplish that. We've actually been working, Roy Jones primarily has been working with the clerk's office for a smooth transition of that, anticipating the July 1st transfer. The thinking here, as I understand it, is that the Codes Department issues large numbers of permits, licenses, and registrations, and we are likely better equipped technology-wise to move alarm registrations into an automated function. With that, we would be happy to address any budget-related questions you might have.
Councilman Taggart.
Thank you. And Terry, in my mind, you don't look any different today than you did in 1990. So.
I was thinking you look much the same as well.
You have a strategic issue, the third one listed, left unchecked, the effects of substandard property on the citizens of Nashville will result in the erosion of the tax base and further deterioration of the infrastructure and the built environment. Along that line, are these 2 positions that are being eliminated in that area of property standards and code enforcement?
Yeah, first of all, we don't feel that they're being left unchecked. This was a broad strategic issue that we identified 12, 15 years ago. And we don't feel they're left unchecked. We feel like they're being worked on every day. The second part of your question is yes, specifically we've got 2 vacant positions. Actually, we have 3 vacant positions in our property standards area. This proposed budget would eliminate 2 of those vacancies.
Well, that seems to be a step in the wrong direction. Just personally, I hear very good things from the builder side, the permitting, the inspection, the plumbing, the electrical, and all that technical stuff. I know that's your background, so that's been a point of emphasis from the building community, and that things go very, very smoothly and are getting better every day, and the one-stop shop and all that. But I still worry about that our system is reactive rather than proactive, that we don't have folks on the street when they drive by and they see something that needs attention, that we wait for a citizen to have to call it in or a council member. And I wish we would take steps to be more proactive on those areas, and this seems to be a step in the wrong direction.
Our numbers are in property standard escalated dramatically for a number of years at the expense of the construction side. In recent years, there have been some reductions in the property standard side. It still is staffed well above where it was when I arrived in 1990. But you are correct. Our ability on the proactive side of property standards enforcement is affected by the head count at the department. We're gonna fully respond to every request we receive, and we rely on that. It's in our plan. In addition to that, we have a flex team that currently has 4 positions on it that's engaged only in what I would like to think is proactive work. They're not assigned to a geographic territory. They don't take requests in, whether they come in by phone or over the internet or through email. They are specifically given projects that they're working on every day. This would have the effect of eliminating, I think, 1 of those positions from the flex team, leaving us with 3 instead of 4, I believe.
You've got a goal by the year 2015, a 10% reduction in visual clutter, signs, debris, trash, graffiti. How can we reach that goal?
I think we're there. personally, I believe that we well exceeded that from the time that we stated that as an issue. We work on that every day. We have programs that address it. We monitor those programs. Those programs have been audited to see that the results are reported out are true results. So I feel pretty confident with that one.
And then finally, last year, this body, working with you, we purchased some software, the robocall on the illegal signs. Can you give us an update on the success or failure of that system?
I think and thank you, the robocaller was a fairly inexpensive investment. It's $300 off the top of my head to buy the machine or the software and put it in place. And I think it's been an effective tool for us. We get calls once we place a number on that robocaller. We will get a call from the individual at that phone number going, no mas, and they're ready to take down signs and correct their problems. We have recognized an issue though. As technology develops, so is the technology on these phone lines, the ability to block calls or not answer those calls. And so Bill Penn identified that if the robocaller is really going to be effective, we're going to have to assign some additional phone lines to it so that we randomly select the phone lines when the calls go out. And he's got some ideas on that I've told him to go ahead, let's pursue those.
That's good, and I'm not afraid to say this. My good friends at 1-800-GOT-JUNK that decide to put signs up and down the interstates and at every exit, I wish you'd start calling the heck out of that number and see what kind of response you get.
I don't know that they haven't been. The 1-800-GOT-JUNK is, I think, one of those national code concerns. So.
Terry, for clarity purposes, the 2 eliminated positions are currently vacant?
That is correct.
And how long have they been vacant?
Excuse me. One of those has been vacant since the Metro retirement incentive. The other, I think, has been vacant a lesser amount of time. One is an inspector position, one is a clerical position back in the office giving support.
Okay. Thank you. Councilwoman Langster.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Cobb, I wish you had brought a very important component of your office up front so everybody could see him, is Mr. William Penn. He is the most responsive person I've ever met, and we've had some hard issues in District 21. June the 4th, we're getting ready to get rid of, I hope, one of the hardest issues, 9th and Buchanan, an old grocery store that's been there about 20 years. And affordable housing is going to get rid of the one at 26 and Clarksville Highway. Mr. Penn really needs to take a bow for that because he was very active in bringing that to some resolution. And I want you to know he's still doing an excellent job for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Councilwoman Johnson.
Thank you, Chair Stein. Terry, you and your department do a tremendous amount of work. And I want to echo Council Lady Langster in just giving kudos to Bill Penn, who is just extraordinary given the stretched situation in his department in terms of responding to many of our complaints and issues. In looking at the budget, Chair Stein basically asked one of my questions, which was how long were the positions that you have listed under eliminate vacant positions, how long they have been vacant. But my other question on that is, why were these positions vacant given their reference to property standards? The other thing is, if I'm looking at your accomplishments and your entire budget, is most of your growth been in the area of building permits versus property standards? Have there been any partnerships explored with other entities to partner to help with after hours and weekends, property standards issues? Has there been a strategic meeting with IT to see if there is something that can be worked out from an IT perspective that can help with a lot of the property standards issues that happen after hours and on the weekends? Those are my first questions.
Yes, working in collaboration with other departments. You recall just 2 years ago, the Metro budget transferred all health inspections over to the codes department and the related budget and personnel. So for efficiency's sake, those two inspection units were combined. Also, we work with the Sheriff's Department. We work with the Metro Police Department. We work with neighborhood associations. We have a program called the Notice Program that we have several dozen neighborhood associations working in concert with us, where the neighborhood association actually makes the first inspection and issues the first notice. So we are trying to collaboratively gain some ground. Even though we've lost some ground in the number of personnel assigned, we've gained some ground through some of the programs. As far as the IT component, I think that you would find that the codes department has probably a system already in place which is considered to be among the elite systems that exist in the United States. The only issue with that system is we bought that system in 2004, and we've taken it up to and well beyond its capacity. And we're in the process of completely replacing that entire system, and on a program that the IT director mentioned, CityWorks. That is a real project. It was funded by the Metro Council. Contracts have been let, and we have collaborative meetings daily, sometimes weekly, sometimes daily with the IT department regarding the installation, the design of that system, and some additional tools that we'll be able to use. So yes, very collaboratively with the IT department. That project is on time and on budget, and scheduled to go live on January the 12th of 2015.
Okay. One of the things that a lot of my constituents asked me to ask you today was, we have a very strong, what is the codes enforcement team? You just mentioned it.
Notice program?
The notice team. We have a very strong notice team. The problem that many people are experiencing is, for example, on the weekend, when Mr. Penn and them are during the week, we're calling them constantly about the same properties. There's one specifically on Anderson Road that he knows, is a huge problem. They will not park their cars for sale on those properties during the time they know that an inspector is coming. But soon as 5 o'clock, 5:30 hits, the whole front yard has got cars sitting there for sale. And then they do that also on the weekend. If we're taking pictures, we're taking video, what can be done in terms of assessing fines that will deter people from doing that on the weekends and the evenings, because what we're doing is just not working. The other big issue out in our area is actually in my colleague's district, and he knows that I have been repeatedly on him with this, which he knows is beyond his control as well, but we've got to come up with something. There's an old Phillips 66 station that's right across from Una Church of Christ, that's next to Una Baptist Church. Everybody along that stretch Their properties are very well maintained. That Phillips 66 station was converted to a, a makeshift mechanic shop or something. What can we do, in terms of limiting the negative aspect of that? They were able to convert, but there was no landscaping that was required of them when they did that. Every time Kohl's comes out there, it's kind of like it's just brushed off because they have the ability to operate that type of business on that particular parcel, and it sticks out like a sore thumb, and we've got more complaints from his district to mine to Jacobia's district, all of ours combined. We get headaches from that. What can we do to start solving some problems, one, on that first one with fines, and two, on converted properties that end up being eyesores and a headache on your department as well?
One, we do make inspections at nights and weekends. Bill Penn has been very diligent about that. If we get a request and the request says that the violation is occurring in the evening or the violation's occurring over the weekend, Bill sees that we get out there and we have an inspector out there to make inspections during the evening or on weekends. And we've been doing that for quite some time under his leadership. Second, as far as the fines, probably the single biggest problem in Nashville or in the state of Tennessee dealing with code enforcement is the fact that the 200-plus-year-old Tennessee Constitution states that no fine shall exceed $50 unless they're given a trial by jury. Now, 200 years ago, when the Constitution, more than 200 years ago, when the state constitution was written, $50 was a lot of money. In fact, in that same constitution, it set the wages for high court judges at, I think it was $600 annually, which is $50 a month. So $50 was a lot of money back then, but $50 today is simply not enough deterrent to get absolute action on many code cases. We can charge $50 per day. We can add the court costs associated with the warrant. We can spend an afternoon with the violator in the courtroom. And those things are deterrents. But until the state constitution is changed, we are limited to that $50. That can only be done during a gubernatorial election, and in order for that to be done, it has to pass two successive actions by two general assemblies leading up to that gubernatorial election. So you have a shot at it roughly once every 4 years. More realistically, once every 8 years. It was tried in the early 90s and it failed because it not only has to get a majority vote as a charter amendment, but it has to receive 50% plus one of the votes, total votes that were cast in the gubernatorial election. So it's very difficult to change Tennessee Constitution. What happens during the gubernatorial election, everybody turns out to vote for the governor's race, and then down there on the ballot at the bottom there's the charter amendments, and they don't understand what's being asked and they don't vote. We got, I think, 60% of the votes that were cast in favor of raising the limit on fines, but it didn't equal the 50% plus one of the votes that were in the governor's race. So that's a challenge, and it will be a challenge in Tennessee for quite some time. On the other matters, I don't know the particulars about the other property that you mentioned, but if we've been out there and we found that they're operating in compliance with the law, we would not cite them for a violation of the law. If the law says they can do what they're doing, then we're going to mark no violation found, and we're going to close that file.
Okay, that may be a planning question or something, because again, they converted the use to something totally different, and I don't see where there was a change. And I'm just one of these council members that got codes issues at the wazoo, and I apologize for asking questions in addition to what I see here in the budget, but we're trying to figure out as a community, what can we do budget-wise to add support to Bill's area, because there are extensive issues from that one to the garage on the lady's house. That's the only one in the neighborhood that's open because she took the garage off, and all the other houses in the area have a garage. We can't get that settled. We can't get the cars off the grass settled. We can't get this thing settled. So I'm just saying, over and over again, there's a problem here. And we need to figure out budget-wise how we can provide support to property standards versus, I know the building permits and all of that is important. But I think we've got that streamlined, and because of the one-stop shop and all of that, that's more efficient. We need to see where can we utilize the resources that are given by Mayor Dean and Rich Riebling to this department over to property standards. So please, I don't know how I can beg anymore to look at the dollars. I don't like what I see in terms of an elimination of a position when it says property standards. That bothers me greatly, given the mountain of issues that my district as well as countless other council members experience with this very complex process. Thank you. But you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cobb, very much for being with us. Thank you. Terry, you're done. Thank you.
Thank you very much.